Hi guys! The true mystery of Roanoke Island. This relationship is presented in 10 sections. 1. The dream of a New England. The late 1500s were the dawn of empire. England, under Queen Elizabeth I, was rising fast, hungry to challenge Spain's vast New World dominion. The Spanish had gold, silver, and endless colonies stretching from Mexico to Peru. England had ships and ambition. Sir Walter Raleigh, poet, soldier, and favorite of the Queen, had a vision: to plant a permanent English colony on the coast of North America. In 1584, Raleigh received a royal charter to discover, search, find out, and view such remote, heathen, and barbarous lands not already claimed by any Christian prince. Two of his captains, Philip Amadas and Arthur Barlow, set sail across the Atlantic. After 2 months, they landed on an island fringed with tall pines and golden sand, Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina. The air was warm, the soil fertile, and the local Algonquin-speaking tribes friendly. Barlow's glowing report to Queen Elizabeth described the land as the most plentiful, sweet, fruitful, and wholesome of all the world. The Queen was impressed. She named the new territory Virginia, after herself, the Virgin Queen. The dream of England in America had begun. 2. The first attempt. Raleigh quickly organized a colony. In 1585, a fleet of 7 ships left Plymouth, carrying 108 men, mostly soldiers and artisans, under the command of Sir Richard Grenville and Governor Ralph Lane. At first, all seemed well. They built a small fort and explored the surrounding area. But soon tensions rose. Supplies dwindled, relations with the native tribes soured, and hunger crept in. When the artist and mapmaker John White accompanied the next supply ship a year later, he found the colonists starving, desperate, and angry. When Sir Francis Drake, returning from a successful raid in the Caribbean, stopped by Roanoke, Lane's men begged to leave. Drake agreed to take them back to England. When Grenville's relief ship arrived a few weeks later, the fort was empty. Still, Raleigh refused to give up. 3. A colony of families. 2 years later, in 1587, Raleigh made a bold new plan, this time not soldiers, but settlers. The goal was to establish a self-sustaining English village in the New World. John White, now an experienced explorer, was appointed governor. Among the 115 colonists were 17 women and 9 children. White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare, was heavily pregnant. They set sail on 3 ships, the Lion, the Roe, and the Bark of Biddeford. Their intended destination was Chesapeake Bay further north, which Raleigh's captains had identified as a better harbor and more fertile ground. But when the fleet stopped briefly at Roanoke Island to pick up a few men left behind, things went wrong. The fleet's navigator, Simon Fernandez, a fiery Portuguese pilot, refused to go further north. He claimed it was too dangerous. Hurricane season was approaching, and his contract was nearly over. Against White's protests, Fernandez ordered the settlers ashore on Roanoke Island. And just like that, history changed course. 4. A new birth in a new world. On August 18, 1587, a baby girl was born to Eleanor and Ananias Dare. Her name was Virginia Dare. The birth was celebrated with joy. The colonists saw it as a sign. England had planted its seed in the New World. But beneath the joy lay fear. The old fort was in ruins, their supplies were running low, and relations with the local tribes were uncertain. Within weeks, it became clear they needed help from England. The settlers persuaded Governor White to sail back to London to request supplies and reinforcements. White reluctantly agreed, leaving behind his daughter, his newborn granddaughter, and every soul on the island. He promised to return within the year. He would not see them again. 6. War and delay. When White reached England in November 1587, the nation was in chaos. Spain was preparing a massive invasion, the Spanish Armada. Every ship, cannon, and sailor was conscripted for war. Raleigh and White's pleas for a rescue expedition were denied. England could not spare a single vessel. 2 years passed before White could secure passage back across the Atlantic. In 1590, he finally returned to Roanoke aboard the privateer Hopewell. As his ship neared the Carolina coast, he scanned the shoreline anxiously. Smoke rose from the island, a signal fire. His heart raced. The colonists were alive. But as the boats rowed closer, the smoke vanished. They arrived on August 18, 1590, exactly 3 years after Virginia Dare's birth. The colony was silent. No people, no bodies, no signs of struggle. Houses had been dismantled, not destroyed. The fort was abandoned. White called out for his family. No answer. Then he saw it. Carved into a post was a single word: Croatoan. On another tree, 3 letters: Crow. White remembered the agreement made before he left. If the colonists were forced to move, they would carve the name of their destination. If they were in danger, they would add a cross above it. There was no cross. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island, home to friendly natives led by Chief Manto, who had once traveled to England himself. White begged his crew to sail there immediately, but a violent storm blew in. The Hopewell was driven out to sea. Its masts cracked, its sails shredded. The captain refused to return. White wept as the coastline of Roanoke faded into the mist. He would never set foot in America again.
7. The Legend of Virginia Dare. In time, the story of the lost colony transformed into legend, and at its heart stood Virginia Dare. According to 17th century folklore, Virginia grew up among the Croatoans, beloved by all for her beauty and grace. But one jealous sorcerer, enraged by her rejection, cast a spell turning her into a white deer. Hunters swore they saw the ghostly animal roaming the forests of North Carolina, a symbol of purity lost and innocence turned to myth. The tale became part of American folklore, a haunting metaphor for the fragile beginning of English America. 8. The Colonial Echo. Though the colony vanished, its legacy did not. Raleigh's charter expired, but the dream of a New England lived on. When Jamestown was founded in 1607, 20 years later, the settlers carried stories of the lost colony with them. Captain John Smith himself sent men to search for possible survivors. Native chiefs told him of tribes with gray eyes and light hair, speaking fragments of English. But again, no solid proof. Still, in a way, Roanoke had already done its job. It planted the idea of permanent English settlement. And with Jamestown, Plymouth, and eventually the 13 colonies, that dream became a nation. 9. Rediscovering the past. In recent decades, science has joined the hunt. Archaeologists have uncovered artifacts bearing English craftsmanship at several sites near the Albemarle Sound. Ground-penetrating radar and soil analysis have revealed traces of fortifications that don't match native structures. Even the so-called Dare Stones, a controversial set of engraved rocks found in the 1930s, allegedly written by Eleanor Dare herself, continue to provoke debate. Most are fakes, but one, some experts argue, might be real. DNA research projects are underway, tracing Native American families in the Carolinas for genetic links to early English settlers. The truth may still be buried beneath centuries of soil and silence. 10. A colony's legacy. Roanoke's disappearance may never be fully explained, but its impact on American identity is undeniable. It represents both the courage and the cost of exploration, the dream of building something from nothing in a land both wondrous and unforgiving. For the English, Roanoke was a failure. For historians, it's a riddle. But for storytellers, it's a mirror of the human spirit, our endless hunger to know what lies beyond the horizon. 11. The final reflection. Imagine standing on the shores of Roanoke Island today. The air smells of pine and sea salt. The water glimmers with the same silver light that once reflected off the sails of John White's ship. The wind rustles through the trees, whispering an ancient question. Where did they go? Perhaps the colonists survived, living, marrying, and blending into the native tribes until their English blood dissolved into the American earth. Or perhaps they died alone, hungry and forgotten, their bones scattered by time. Either way, their story endures, not carved into wood, but into the heart of American history. Croatoan. One word, a message from the past that still echoes through time. Thanks for watching the video.